Tired of chasing trends just to look the part? This episode is your permission to get wealthy quietly. We'll show why a $780K home can beat a $950K one for peace of mind, how perfect credit matters more than perfect outfits, and why buying back your time is the real luxury. You'll see how boring auto investing in broad index funds outperforms hype, how 12.6-year-old cars are normal, not a secret code, and why 18 months of runway changes how you handle layoffs. We'll also cover the dark side, when frugality isolates you, and how to avoid it. If you want freedom, not noise, stay.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, when you hear the word rich, what pops into your head? Is it like the flashy stuff, private jets, maybe a huge mansion, some crazy expensive watch? Because if that's where your mind goes first, you're probably looking at the performance, the show, not really the underlying structure of wealth.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, we're just flooded with images, right? Yeah. Content that makes financial power look like it has to be super visible, super loud. But the sources we looked into for today, and this includes everything from like serious financial research to, pretty candid online discussions among people with high net worth, they all point to something else. It seems like the real lasting wealth, it's often the kind you just don't see.
Okay, right. So let's dive.
Don't forget to subscribe, tap that bell, and let's chat below.
Into this idea that everyone seems fascinated by right now, stealth wealth. Our mission today really is to cut through all that social media noise, the quiet luxury posts, and find the actual, maybe kind of boring financial habits and behaviors that signal real long-term security here in the US. We're trying to figure out the difference between just looking rich and actually being rich.
Yeah, exactly. And stealth wealth, or SW, it's more than just like a fashion choice. It's really a whole financial philosophy. It's a lifestyle. It means someone has, significant net worth, real assets working for them, providing security, but they choose very deliberately to keep a low profile, no flash. The main goal, and this echoes stuff from way back, like in The Millionaire Next Door, is prioritizing things like financial freedom, real security, and just peace of mind over showing off with material things.
Okay, so why now? Why does it seem to be catching on so much lately? Why hide it?
Well, I think it boils down to a couple of things. Freedom and maybe self-preservation. In today's world, being obviously wealthy just opens you up to so much scrutiny, constant comparison, judgment, people expecting things. And a lot of high earners, they're consciously pushing back against that whole burnout broke culture, where you make a ton but spend every cent trying to look the part. They just want to protect their energy, their focus, their time.
And if you look at the economic reality in the US, that desire for privacy starts to look pretty strategic, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The wealth gap is just, it's massive. You look at the median U.S. household net worth, it's somewhere around, $193,000. But to even get into the top 10%, you need over $1.6 million. With that kind of difference, keeping things private becomes almost a security strategy. It shields you from awkward loan requests, maybe unrealistic expectations from family and friends, just all the noise that comes with people knowing you have money. So managing information becomes part of managing relationships.
Which leads us right to that term that's been everywhere. Fashion magazines, TV shows, quiet luxury. QL. We really need to draw a line here because people mix these two up all the time.
Yeah, they do. And they only really overlap on the surface. Quiet luxury is mainly an aesthetic. It's a look. Think about like the clothes in Succession. Amazing quality, perfect fit, but zero logos, right? It's a way to signal wealth, but subtly, to an inside group who gets the code. You're still spending thousands on a coat, maybe. It's still consumption. It's still about appearance, just quieter.
Right. So if I go out and buy, say, a really expensive logo-free Italian leather briefcase, is that stealth wealth? Or am I just kind of showing off without shouting about it?
That actually flips the script, doesn't it? Because if buying that briefcase takes a big chunk out of your investment plan or means you have to work extra hours to pay it off, then it's really just, disguised waste. It's not smart. Stealth wealth is all about the balance sheet. It's about growing assets, minimizing liabilities. Now, you might buy a really high-quality item that lasts for decades that could be smart consumption, but the second you buy a 5-figure thing just for the status, even subtle status, you're not really in SW territory anymore. You're at the QL party.
Okay, that makes the difference really clear. So let's get past the surface stuff, the aesthetics, and tackle some of those common myths that you see all over social media, the how to spot a secret millionaire checklists.
Oh yeah, those checklists, they're often way off base. They almost always list things like perfect teeth and skin, generic but high quality clothes, and the big one, the absolute classic myth, driving an old, reliable car.
Right. I immediately picture that Silicon Valley engineer making like $400 K a year, but still driving his trusty, maybe slightly dented 2010 Honda Civic. And I think, aha, stealth wealth.
Look, there's a grain of truth there. A lot of genuinely wealthy people do drive cars that are maybe 5, 10 years old, well-maintained. Why? Because they've actually thought about it. They've done the math on the total cost of ownership, TCO. They know that huge depreciation hit on a new car is just like setting money on fire. They factor in maintenance, insurance, resale value. It's a calculated decision.
Okay, but what's the mistake in just assuming that old car automatically means wealth?
The mistake is ignoring the bigger picture, the context. Right now,
hit that subscribe, bell it up, and ride the full wave with me.
the average age of a car on the road in the US is, get this, 12.6 years. New cars are just so expensive that driving an older car isn't some secret rich person code. It's the norm for millions of Americans. It's just reality. So seeing an older car doesn't signal high net worth on its own. It signals average. The wealthy person driving that Civic, they're just applying smart financial principles to that common reality. It's smart, yes, but not exclusively a rich thing.
That's a really important point. Visible signs are often just reflecting the average, not some secret code. What about those other things like health and appearance? People often say, perfect teeth, great skin. That's the real sign of long-term investment in oneself.
Well, it's true that having money often leads to better health access and therefore outcomes. But we need to be really careful here. Our sources pointed out that this isn't always just a habit of the wealthy. It's often fundamentally about access. Like the CDC data shows something like 57 million Americans live in areas where there just aren't enough dental specialists. If you have money, you can travel to get the best care, right? Doesn't matter where you live. If you don't, you're limited by what's available, by systemic issues. So yeah, focusing just on the appearance risks being kind of classist. We need to look at the underlying access that wealth provides, not just the shiny result.
Excellent point. Okay, so if we strip away the misleading surface stuff, the clothes without logos, the age of the car, what are the real, maybe less glamorous, but actionable signs we should look for? Let's shift to financial behavior. That seems to be the real core here.
Absolutely. Indicator number one, the foundation, the bedrock. Living below your means, LBYM. Sounds simple, right? But it's incredibly hard for most people to do consistently. It means spending significantly less than you bring in. And maybe even more crucial, actively resisting lifestyle creep. That's that slow, sneaky increase in spending every time you get a raise or a bonus.
Can you give us a concrete example, something that shows that safety margin?
Yeah, let's talk about housing. Biggest expense for almost everyone in the US. Okay, say you've got a high earner, maybe a doctor or a lawyer. They easily qualify for a mortgage of, let's say, $950,000. Big house, prime location, the whole 9 yards. But the stealth wealth approach might be to deliberately choose a perfectly nice home in a good area for maybe $780,000 instead. They're consciously choosing to keep that $170,000 difference as a buffer, as financial breathing room. They value peace of mind over the biggest possible house. They refuse to be imprisoned by a massive
Subscribe now, tap the bell, and drop your thoughts in the comments.
mortgage payment. So if something unexpected happens, job loss, medical bill, it doesn't throw their whole life off track.
Imprisoned by debt. That's a powerful image, and it leads perfectly into the second indicator you found, debt hygiene and credit health.
Right. And what's interesting here is that the stealth wealthy aren't always totally debt-free. That's another myth. They're just very strategic about debt. They absolutely avoid high-interest consumer debt like the plague, carrying credit card balances month to month, high APR car loans. They see that as actively working against their financial goals. It's just throwing money away on interest.
But they do use some debt strategically.
Exactly. They leverage what you might call good debt. Things like a low-interest mortgage on a primary residence, maybe sensible loans to start or grow a profitable business, or buy income-producing assets. The key difference is whether the debt is working for them, helping them build more wealth than the debt costs, or working against them by just draining their future income. So the real sign isn't necessarily zero debt. It's more about having an excellent credit score, a solid history of paying everything on time, every time. That shows financial discipline and control.
That's a really useful distinction for everyone listening. And hey, if you're finding these specific actionable tips helpful, maybe take a quick second to hit that subscribe button. We put out deep dives like this regularly, trying to break down these kinds of topics. Okay, so indicator number 3, the investment strategy. This is where maybe the magic happens, but also maybe the boredom.
Yes. Boring is basically the superpower here, honestly. They generally understand that trying to time the market or pick the next hot stock is mostly a losing game for individuals. Instead, they prioritize consistent, automated, long-term investing, usually in diversified, low-cost ways. We're talking about setting up regular automatic contributions every paycheck, every month, into things like broad market index funds, funds that just track the whole market, like the S&P 500.
Yeah, we talk a lot about consistency trumping risky speculation. Can you share that example you mentioned about the 45-year-old school teacher?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a great illustration. So imagine this teacher, let's call her Sarah, never made a huge salary, maybe topped out around $60 a year, didn't have fancy clothes, drove an older car. But for 20 solid years, she automatically invested 15% of every single paycheck into a simple, low-fee S&P 500 index fund. She didn't panic sell during market downturns. She didn't chase trends or get FOMO, fear of missing out during bubbles. She just kept putting the money in month after month, year after year. And because of the sheer power of compound interest working over 2 decades, she apparently built up a 7-figure portfolio by her mid-50s. Nobody looking at her would guess it. Her wealth is totally invisible, but her financial security, rock solid. That right there is stealth wealth in action.
Wow, that really shows the payoff of that steady, unsexy discipline. Which takes us to the 4th indicator, time affluence. This feels like the ultimate luxury that money can actually buy.
It really is. It's kind of the pinnacle, isn't it? Once you've built up that financial cushion, that safety net, your relationship with money starts to change. You stop seeing it primarily as something just to spend on stuff. Instead, you start viewing time as your most precious, non-renewable asset. And this gives you options, real choices. You might choose work you genuinely love, even if it doesn't pay the absolute maximum. Or maybe you aim to retire early, that whole FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early.
So how does that time affluence play out practically, day to day?
They start strategically buying back their time. They look at tasks like, say, house cleaning, yard work, maybe even running errands through a return on investment lens, an ROI lens. If their time, based on their skills or earning potential, is worth, say, $100 or $200 an hour, and they can pay someone $40 an hour to clean their house, the math is pretty simple. Paying that $40 frees up maybe 2 hours of their own time they can then spend with family or working on higher value projects or just resting and recharging. It's not about being lazy. It's about ruthlessly prioritizing their most valuable asset, their time.
That definitely shifts the perspective. Okay, let's talk about the psychological side. What does this kind of deep financial security actually look like in a person's demeanor?
Well, it often translates into this underlying sense of calm, a kind of psychological safety net. Think about a tense situation at work. Maybe layoff rumors are swirling around. Everyone else is stressed, maybe frantically checking LinkedIn, the stealth wealthy person in the room. They often seem less rattled. They keep doing their job effectively because they know deep down that if the worst happened tomorrow, they've got runway. Maybe 18 months, maybe more of expenses covered. That internal confidence, it's not arrogance, it just allows them to say no to bad projects or toxic environments without that immediate financial fear hanging over them.
That really is the ultimate freedom money provides, isn't it? The freedom to choose your situation. But like anything, there must be a downside, right? What's the risk of taking this stealth thing too far?
Yeah, there definitely can be a dark side. The main risk is taking frugality to an unhealthy extreme. We heard about examples where people with, millions in assets are still agonizing over tiny expenses, cutting corners on things that actually impact their quality of life, like necessary health checkups or buying nutritious food. That kind of defeats the whole purpose, right? Financial independence is supposed to enable a richer life, not just a bigger bank balance coupled with anxiety.
And what about the impact on relationships, the social cost?
That's a huge one. Social isolation can be a real challenge. Keeping such a big part of your reality secret inevitably creates distance. They might worry constantly that if friends or family found out the true extent of their wealth, the dynamic would change. People might start asking for loans or just treat them differently. So finding that balance is really tricky. You want the protection that secrecy offers, but you also need genuine connection, intimacy, the ability to be open with people you care about. It's tough when you're hiding such a fundamental aspect of your security.
That's a really thoughtful point about the human side of all this. So if we try to boil it all down for everyone listening, the main takeaway seems to be that real sustainable wealth isn't about the visible symbols. It's built on those, kind of boring but consistent habits, avoiding bad debt strategically, and really prioritizing your time and your peace of mind over status. It's about building a system, not putting on a performance.
Exactly. It's the system running quietly in the background, and maybe the most powerful yet totally invisible sign of that true financial security. It isn't the number in your bank account, it's the leverage it gives you. It's the quiet ability to just walk away from a job you hate, a bad relationship, a high-pressure situation that's draining you, because your finances give you the power to choose. That ability to choose your own path, that's invaluable.
That really does give leverage a whole new weight. So think about all this. We'd love to hear from you. We talked about a lot of these unsexy but effective habits today. The disciplined investing, living below your means, doing that buy time math. Which of these do you personally find the hardest to actually start implementing? Or maybe stick with? Let us know your experience down in the comments. And of course, if you found this deep dive useful, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next one. We'll see you then.